Senator Leyonhjelm.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to Senator Cormann as the Minister representing the Minister for Revenue and Financial Services. Given expected investment returns, your policy to increase tax on Australians with super balances over $1.6 million is more punitive than Labor's policy to increase tax on earnings over $75,000. Is the government seeking to outdo Labor at taking other people's money? Do you agree that fewer people ever reach a super balance of $1.6 million because of your policy to impose marginal tax rates on post-tax contributions over $500,000 since 2007 and to increase tax on annual contributions over $25,000? Do you accept that your attack on the hard work, thrift and caution of Australians who save to avoid reliance on the pension represents class warfare and a betrayal of Liberal values?
The Minister for Finance representing the Minister for Revenue and Financial Services, Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much, Mr President. In relation to those latter questions, no, I don't accept that, and I also don't accept that the policy that the government has put forward in the budget to make tax concessions in relation to superannuation fairer, more sustainable and more fit for purpose is more stringent than Labor's when it comes to the $1.6 million cap. What I would do is, in the first instance, refer the Honourable Senator to Labor's own policy document released in, I think, April 2015, where their case study actually pointed to the fact that the $75,000 earnings cap that you referred to actually would apply by their modelling to balances of $1.5 million, of $1.5 million and more. Now, there's a range of other features that make our approach better. Firstly, so up to earnings in relation to savings of up to $1.6 million would continue to be completely tax-free. In relation to earnings above from savings above $1.6 million, there would be a concessional tax of 15% applied. Now, that is an indexed threshold. That $1.6 million threshold is indexed. The $75,000 is not. You are able, under our policy, to actually retain your earnings inside your income tax-free account. Under Labor, you're not, which means that you're actually able to grow that pie. And furthermore, I mean, under Labor's approach, the unindexed $75,000 earnings amount that would attract a 15% tax. In years where you have a 10% return, which actually has happened in years gone by, you would balances of $750,000 and above would be actually captured by that, whereas under our policy that is absolutely impossible to happen. We provide much more certainty to people. Now, the more general point is the structural challenge we have in Australia is that a growing proportion of income generated in Australia is completely income tax free. That is not sustainable. It means that other Australians have to pay more tax in order to pay.
Thank you,
for
Minister.
The
time for answering the question has expired. Senator Leyonhjelm, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Your tax take is 22% of GDP and rising. How can your reaction to this be an increase in the taxation of retirement savings? Australia's $1 trillion superannuation pool is a national treasure that is financing Australian business and infrastructure. Why are you attacking high super balances rather than cheering them on?
Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Mr President. As I've indicated, the government's reforms are designed to ensure that tax concessions made available in the context of superannuation are fair, sustainable and fit for purpose. Now, the purpose of superannuation tax concessions, which is a lower tax rate or no tax rate under certain circumstances, is to encourage people to save, to generate an income in retirement that replaces or supplements the age pension. It was never meant to be a tax-effective wealth accumulation or estate planning vehicle. And what we are doing is making sure that essentially at the higher wealth and higher income end, people pay a more appropriate share of tax. I mean, as I say, if you've got a situation where a growing amount of income generated in Australia, in particular at the higher wealth and higher income end, is generated completely tax-free, it means that every other family has to pay more tax to pay for the benefits and services provided by government. And that's not...
The time for answering the question has expired. Excuse me, Senator Leyonhjelm. Senator Leyonhjelm, final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. No other country in the world imposes high marginal tax rates on retirement savings accounts, because if they did, no one would save in those accounts. Why then do you persist in calling Australia's taxation of superannuation concessional? Shouldn't personal tax rates of 37% and 45% be seen as a national disgrace rather than as a benchmark for all taxation?
Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Well, I mean, I don't know how to describe a 0% tax rate as anything other than highly concessional. I mean, obviously, if you generate income and you pay 0% tax, I mean, that is the ultimate concession. And obviously, when you've got a growing proportion of Australians at the higher wealth and higher income end that pay absolutely no tax on the income they generate, that means that every other Australian working for a living and saving and investing pays more tax than they otherwise might have to for the same level of expenditure, to cover the same level of expenditure. What we're seeking to do, and it's not just at the higher end, we are actually seeking to reform the superannuation tax arrangements as a whole, including providing better flexibility for low and middle income earners, providing a better flexibility, for example, for women who might have disrupted work patterns to enable them to play catch-up when it comes to saving for their retirement, using previously underutilised or unutilised concessional contribution caps and the like, providing something.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering the question has expired.